Okay, so we left off. Andrew Jackson has successfully won his election in the 1828 election, and right before he won, the Tariff of Abomination was passed, and that was the tax on foreign goods. So if goods were being brought in from France, they would have to pay an additional tax, making them more expensive to American buyers, forcing many Americans to purchase goods that were made here in the United States because the United States goods were cheaper. Well, you have Vice President John C. Calhoun. He's actually going to be the vice president under John Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson, which is very unusual. He does not like the tax. He does not like the tariff of abominations, so he comes up with what they call the Doctrine of Nullification. And this doctrine is very similar to the Kentucky and Virginia Resolution, and it says states do not have to follow these laws if they feel they violate the Constitution. And that was his stand against the Tariff of Abominations. Well, first of all, you got to remember, people were pretty surprised the Tariff of Abominations passed anyways, but it did earn Andrew Jackson some of those votes from the New Englanders and Midwestern merchants. So what does Andrew Jackson do in response to the Doctrine of Nullification? Jackson vetoes the nullification process, says this is not valid, you cannot do this. And he says, if you're not going to follow the tariff, I will send in the U.S. military and I will force you to follow the tariff. Mainly, he wants to keep the United States united. South Carolina is threatening potential secession. We're not going to follow this. You can't make us. And so Jackson says, that's cool. I'll just send in the military and we'll see who wins this battle. Henry Clay here, the man on the left, is the one who comes up with the 1833 Compromise Tariff. What it says is over a few year period, the tariff will be gradually lowered. So it kind of solves the problem. It doesn't solve it immediately, but it says within a few years, the tariff will dwindle its way down. In response to the doctrine of nullification, Andrew Jackson takes it one step further and he passes what he calls the force bill. And this says, you guys can read, President can use military force to enforce acts of Congress. So if a law is passed and states are not following it, the force bill says, I will send down the military and we will make you follow it. And kind of the South, especially South Carolina, wanting to have the last word, they say, well, the force bill is null. We're going to nullify this force bill. So it's just kind of a, right back at you. In the end, the compromise tariff of the gradual lowering of the tariff will make people happy. And it just shows that Andrew Jackson's going to be a very hard president to deal with. In fact, I think he vetoed 12 different laws during his presidency, and that's not going to be seen again until the time of Abraham Lincoln and FDR, who was the president for 4 terms. These are a few things that Jackson's presidency are going to be marked by. He definitely implements the spoil system, so as soon as he takes office, he gets rid of about 20% of the regular government supporters and puts his friends in those positions, which doesn't necessarily mean they're qualified, but it means they helped him get the presidency. He's, like I said, going to be known as the Nullification era, starts with the Doctrine of Nullification, the Force Bill, and he will veto other acts of Congress. Like I said, I think about 12 acts of Congress are vetoed during his 2 terms as president. He's known for killing the second bank of the United States, and one of the most important things, or infamous things that he's known for, is the Indian Removal Act, and then we'll talk briefly about the Specie Circular. So the deal is, the second bank of the United States, this was what originally Alexander Hamilton came up with, and Jackson does not like the bank. You guys can read, people in the West hated the bank. They thought it had too much power. Jackson doesn't think the bank's accountable to anybody and that it bought government officials, which it probably did. I mean, it is politics, and to say that the bank's probably not giving money to favored candidates would probably be incorrect. This is just a picture of Jackson attacking the bank, which is a 2-headed dragon-like beast. So many people support the bank, and they take a gamble. The bank has to reapply for a charter, so they have to renew their contract every few years. And so they think, all right, if Jackson vetoes and kills the bank, he won't get reelected for a second term. So this is happening in his first term. And so they reapply for charter early, just so they can catch Jackson. So he either A, has to agree to the bank, which allows them to continue on, or B, he has to veto the bank, saying they cannot renew their contract, and then he won't get reelected because people will be so upset that the bank was killed. Well, they gambled wrong. Jackson actually stood his ground, said, I hate this bank. I will not renew its charter. I will not renew its contract. And so many people were on his side that he easily won re-election. And what it ended up doing was it killed the national bank. So the people who thought Jackson surely won't win the election if he kills it, they were wrong. Another financial issue that we have is the Specie Circular. And what it says was, this was a document saying, or this was a law saying that any land that's going to be purchased has to be purchased with gold and silver. You can imagine in the 1830s, there's a finite amount of gold and silver. That's what species means, like it's your currency, what you're using, something tangible. So if people don't have gold and silver to buy land, people aren't buying land. That means the land owners aren't making any money, and it just snowballs into this depression that unfortunately Martin Van Buren will have to be the one to deal with. It also causes the price of land or real estate to go down, but even then, people still aren't able to purchase anything because they don't have enough gold and silver. Eventually, they will find gold in Georgia, and obviously, we know they have gold in California. Then they'll find silver out throughout the Southwest and in Colorado. So we will find more sources of gold and silver, but at this time, we were working with a limited amount. So really, what it does is just causes a depression because people can't afford to buy anything. And this is where we left off yesterday, so we'll pick up here next.